The spotlight is shifting to a very small island in the Persian Gulf that could shape the future of the Iran war, and we're talking about Kharg Island. This island is not just another patch of land, it is Iran's oil lifeline. Most of Iran's crude exports pass through Kharg before being shipped across the world, which means any strike on Kharg does not just hurt Iran's economy, it sends shockwaves across global energy markets. Kharg Island is a small rocky outcrop just 15 nautical miles off the coast of Iran. Despite its size, it is one of the most critical pieces of Iran's energy infrastructure. The US striking this small but vital island in the northern Gulf is almost like going for Iran's economic jugular vein. 90% of Iran's crude oil comes through a terminal on the island, transported through pipelines from the mainland. Very large tankers capable of carrying up to 85 million gallons of oil are able to come up to the island's long jetties to pick up the oil. The tankers then come back down the Gulf and out of the Strait of Hormuz to China, the main buyer of Iranian oil, and that is exactly why China is watching the situation with growing concerns. Even as the Kharg Island was attacked, targeted by the US, you had petrol pumps in China flooded with people flocking to these fuel stations. China is the world's largest crude importer and also the biggest buyer of Iranian oil. In fact, a massive share of Iran's exported crude ultimately ends up in Chinese refineries. Reports suggest China imports around 1.38 million barrels of Iranian oil per day in 2025. That makes Beijing deeply dependent on the flow of oil coming through Kharg Island. So, when the United States targets or threatens Iran's main oil terminal, the impact is not just limited to Tehran. It threatens supply chains, pushes oil prices higher, and directly affects China's energy security. Reports suggest that US President Donald Trump is weighing the possibility of seizing Iran's Kharg Island. However, such an operation would require US troops on the ground, raising the risk of Iranian retaliation against oil facilities and pipelines across Gulf countries. And the big question, if the conflict escalates further, how much of stakes could Kharg really hold in the battle of narratives?